And good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Been reading a really good book here, Jesus and the Holy City by P.W.L. Walker, New Testament Perspectives on Jerusalem. Fascinating book, very informative. Anyway, welcome back. My name is Don K. Preston, and I call this my morning musings. I'm sharing with you right now some thoughts on the end of Satan, the end of the Charismata, the end of the prophetic office, at the arrival of that which is perfect. And, of course, lots and lots of questions about this topic. And I'm sharing with you how important it is to understand the purpose of the Charismata. Because once that purpose was achieved, perfected, performed, then the Bible tells us that's when the Charismata would cease. At the destruction of Satan, at the full arrival of the kingdom, as we've earlier established. One of the purposes of the Charismata, one of the purposes of the miraculous gifts, was the confirmation of God's spokesman, his representative, and number two, the confirmation that the word being spoken by God's spokesman was in fact the word of the Lord. Now this is true, interestingly enough, even in the Old Testament. You remember the story of Elijah and the prophets of Baal in 1 Kings. Here is this great conflict between the prophets of Baal who claimed the miracle-working power of Baal versus Elijah, who claimed to be the spokesman and the prophet of God. Here was an open challenge, an open conflict. You can't even really call it a debate. But the point of it is, God performed that mighty miracle to confirm that Elijah was his prophet. Well, we come to the New Testament, and what do we find concerning miracles? Well, in several New Testament books, Paul tells us that the gifts confirmed not only the word, but the people speaking the word. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, 4-8. Paul said, writing to the Corinthians, "You come behind in no gift, waiting for the day of the Lord." And he said, you have been, past tense in the Greek, confirmed. Those gifts have confirmed you, past tense. They will also confirm you until the end. So, we are emphatically, therefore, and specifically told that one of the purposes of the gifts of the Spirit was the confirmation of, of the prophet or prophets and the word spoken by God's representative. Now, that brings up a very clear challenge for those who say that the Charismata continue today. If the Charismata genuinely do continue today, where do we have contests like Elijah and the prophets of Baal, with such an indisputable demonstration from Yahweh in confirmation of his spokesman? Where do we find the indisputable conflicts between Paul going into the synagogues, Jesus going into the synagogue? Luke chapter 14. Here is a man with a crippled hand. Been that way all of his life, it seems. And then Jesus looked out and saw their unbelief. They had set him up. And yet Jesus performed that miracle in the midst of that unbelief with an indisputable miracle. Quite frankly, we do not find things like that today. I've read, I've researched, I've listened, I've investigated. We don't have things like that going on in our world today. So, once again, when we look at the purpose and the function of miracles, and we see that they were for the confirmation of the Word and the prophet, that tells us that that function has been completed. If in fact, number one, we do not have living, inspired, authoritative prophets active in the church today. And number two, if the Word of God is complete and has been confirmed. All right. Well, I won't be with you the rest of this week. I'm entering the hospital in the morning, have surgery, and seems I've got what the doctor calls the most massive bone spurs he's ever seen in his life. He said, boy, that's got to be painful. And I said, yeah, that's kind of why I'm here at the doctor's office. So, I won't be back with you the rest of this week. Lord willing, nothing happens. I'll be back with you next Monday. Thanks for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. Hope to see you next Monday.